And welcome to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here live on the You Know What Network. And wow, talk about massive screw ups. Yeah. Thank you for tuning into and watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio here on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course, watching us here on our YouTube channel and wherever else. I don't know if there's anyone else that's pirating this I don't know, stream. Who knows? Anyone bothering to pirate this stream? Give us some extra, I don't know, viewers. I don't know. So how's it going, Alex?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Not too bad. It's been a crazy week, and it's fucking cold.
Yeah.
You know. Hey, Traveling, how are you? Thanks for joining. Adrian, thanks for joining us tonight so far. Well, tonight let's get some particulars out of the way first before we get into what's supposed to happen tonight. What's new?
Nothing.
For
the record.
That one's for the record, folks. Part 2 of Alex's collage coming soon.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to the show, Steve has a collage of me saying that over the years.
Well, hold on. Do you not have it?
I do.
Yeah, play it.
Hang on. I gotta find it. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
So what's new?
Nothing.
What's new and exciting, Alex?
Nothing.
Well, what's new?
Well, nothing.
What have you been up to?
Not much.
What's new?
Nothing.
What have you been up to?
Nothing.
Yeah.
So as you can see, it was like a running theme throughout the years. You know, it was a common thing. Hey, Alex, what's new? Nothing.
So now I answered like that on purpose.
Yeah, on purpose.
Add to the collage.
Just add to the collage. But it's better when you got to catch them off guard. It seems more authentic when he says it.
Genuine.
Nothing. Caught off guard. Nothing.
And if you paid attention to the clip I just played, you could kind of tell the quality of audio increased as time went on. I got better equipment,
Well, yeah, you don't sound like an octopus underwater.
Yeah, that's true.
We both sounded pretty. I mean, back in the day, it was like, oh my god, that the audio was horrible.
It was.
I mean, things have improved, and we have these snazzy new mics, and wow.
Hey, Mars.
Hey, Mars, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, anyways,
new mics and this.
Oh yeah, his new board. Well, no, it's not new. He's had it for a while now.
Yeah.
I watched. Did I tell you I watched the movie The Curse?
Yeah, you did.
Oh man, there hasn't been a movie where I thought to myself, I don't want this to end. I'm watching this movie and I'm going, it reminded me of an old Hammer flick. It had that atmosphere and modernized, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you guys have not seen it yet, go see it. And it's funny, I watched actually last night. Foo Fighters, speaking of, unfortunately, the death of the drummer there, Taylor Hawkins. Sad. 50 years old, I believe he was. 50 years old.
He's not old at all.
No, and they just released a new album. What is it? Death Window? Death Window. And impartial to a movie they just released called Studio 666. And I watched the movie last night, and I was actually really impressed with it.
Oh, okay.
It's actually not a bad flick.
Like, is it a fictional movie or is it
Well,
a
yeah, it's
biography?
fictional. It's the the Foo Fighters. They got to produce their 10th album, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. And look at they their manager gets this this old house somewhere where murder of another metal, I don't know, lead singer of another metal band years in the 90s was murdered or something. I don't know, whatever. And it was actually pretty cool, you know. Um and I have to say, I'm really, really impressed with the album because it's a metal album. It's like parts death metal, parts
From the Foo Fighters?
yeah,
Oh
part
shit.
thrash metal. Dude, man, it's actually a good album.
Huh.
If I didn't know it was the Foo Fighters, I'm like, wow.
That's weird. I would never peg Foo Fighters as doing like
Well,
metal.
I mean, just before this, they did a Bee Gees album, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they're in that sort of they're in that area where they wanted to experiment with, I guess, different things and or bucket list. Oh, hey, let's try doing this kind of an album, sort of thing, right? And I guess a metal album came up, and hey, let's put together a movie. All bands have a movie, you know. All these bands, all these big bands have movies. So hey, let's make a movie, and it's a horror comedy flick,
Hmm.
and it's hilarious.
Two of the best combinations, horror and comedy.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's hokey. It is what it is, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Once again, that's called Studio 666. So, but check out the album called Death Window. Just, it's available everywhere, obviously, because it's the Foo Fighters. So, check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out. Tonight, we're supposed to have Matt Landman back on the show. We have not heard back from Matt. He's MIA. I don't know what's going on. It's really too bad because we had Matt on not years ago, but a few years ago before he released his documentary Frankenskies. Really cool documentary. Awesome documentary on chemtrails and weather modification and warfare, and basically looking at the history of weather modification and the different projects that these governments implemented to try these different experimentations on trying to control the weather, everything from seeding them to using frequency modification. And and going into is this one of the reasons why global warming is happening, the climate change, if you will, is this is it the major reason why this is happening, and all that fun stuff. So hopefully we hear from Matt soon, but if not, the show must go on.
It must.
The show must go on. And you know what? If need be, we'll open up the mic tonight. So if that's the case, and again, if you have any questions for Matt, hopefully, like I said, he will be here. Hopefully. Let me just check again to see if I've heard back from him. Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
So like where is he located?
I believe he's out in BC.
So there's a 3-hour difference. So maybe he misunderstood the time.
Hey Sab, how are you? Thanks for joining us, man. No, I gave him. I gave him. He remembers. We're here on the East Coast, so I'm sure he knows. So hopefully he will join us. If not, like we said, the show must go on, and we will open up the mic for you guys for discussion. If that's
Can't open this one up too much. It's hard.
what can't you open up? What do you mean?
The mic.
Oh, okay. We'll open a can of worms. How about that?
Yeah, sure.
You got a can of worms?
Somewhere. Got a can.
Get a can. Unfortunately, not full of worms, but full of something better. Yeah. So, I mean, we've had a few people on over the years to talk about weather modification, and I think one of the highlights, obviously, and we keep going, falling back on Jerry Smith,
Yep.
and that show was
Wasn't that
not
one of the first shows we did about weather modification?
It was the very first show
Okay.
that we ever did on weather
Yeah.
modification. I think it was like 2010. I think it was back in 2010
It's a long
that
time
we did
ago.
that. Long time ago.
12 years ago. Fuck.
12 years ago, man. 12 years ago. And his book Weather Warfare, if you are looking for a good read to get yourself caught up or educated on the subject, I would highly recommend grabbing Weather Warfare from Jerry E. Smith. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He's since passed away, which is unfortunate, but I'm sure we would have had him back on the show if he was still around for sure. But we had Matt on to talk about this particular subject, and we haven't really touched base on the subject in a long time.
Yeah.
So I mean, when we had Matt on the last time, it was before before he released Frankenskies. So we didn't really have we had a chance to talk to him about it, but he couldn't really say too much about it, obviously, because he didn't want to give too much away on the actual documentary itself. But we're open tonight to sort of get into that. But as you can see, unfortunately, Matt has not joined us as yet. Hopefully, he will be with us shortly. If not, we will open up things here for an open discussion panel, if you will, and we'll get the link out there for anyone who would like to join us this evening. Yeah, that's really, really too bad. We actually have and another thing that we've never talked about here on the show before. I mean, we've talked about the subject, I think, here and there, but sparsely. But we've never actually had a certified holistic naturopath on the show before.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's going to be pretty cool having Caitlin will be coming on. She's a certified holistic naturopath, Reiki, the whole 9 yards. So, I mean, that'll be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it should be fun.
And
we've never, like you said, we've never done that before.
Never done that before. And I know there's been people who have, I guess, sort of talked and asked questions in that sort of area. And I'm sure people will probably have lots of questions for Caitlin. I can't see why not. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Kevin's in chat there.
Kevin.
Yeah. What you drinking? The Wraith.
Race.
Black lager. He's having a hard time with it, Kevin. He's having a hard time with it. But yeah, so she's coming on April 24th, I said?
I believe so. I'll have to
April
double check.
Yeah, April 24th, I believe she's coming on. So looking forward to having Caitlin on to talk about that and much more. So yeah. Yeah. So what are your views on chemtrails and weather modification? Because I know you're a big airplane guy. I mean,
Um,
what are your thoughts about governments? And I mean, it's a proven fact. I mean, there's projects out there.
they have done weather seeding, cloud seeding. Yes, I
Oh
know
yeah,
that. I'm
that's a
aware of
given.
that.
That's a given. Yeah.
But whether the supposed chemtrails are legit, I'm not 100% convinced yet.
Mhm.
Uh, in the atmosphere, obviously it's never a constant. Sometimes there's high pressure, sometimes there's low pressure, and that will determine the length of the vapor trails.
Mhm.
So until I see, and it's a personal thing, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
So until I see something that convinces me, it's up in the air.
Well, when you look at California in I believe the late '80s and the early '90s, they actually came out and said the the amount of I guess flights in
Mhm.
California, the amount has increased significantly, whereas it's actually they're saying the amount of jet streams in the sky had actually affected the amount of daylight in that particular area in many parts of California.
Mhm.
I remember seeing, I think, seeing a news report out of, I think it was the early '90s, from a California news station, uh, talking about that. And I mean, that's a given. I mean, when you have increased amounts of flights, because Alex, remember when COVID kicked in and the flights they were grounded.
Yeah.
I mean, those skies were clear.
Here, yeah. Here more
They,
so than in the US. The US,
yeah,
I was looking at the flight radar during COVID and it looked like in the US it didn't even like stop at all, like or
really,
diminish whatsoever. Yeah, the amount of planes I was seeing over the US using the radar
yeah,
tracker,
uh-huh,
it looked like it was just normal.
really,
Yeah. In Canada, you saw the difference, especially over the GTA and Toronto being one of the busiest, if not the busiest airports in Canada.
yeah.
Uh, the amount of traffic going in and out of Pearson was drastically reduced.
Well, you can see it in the skies too, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, you
Yeah,
did not. It was just eerie how there were no planes in the sky.
yeah, definitely.
You didn't hear like I know here where I'm located is a major taxiing sort of area going into Pearson.
Right.
So they'll do, they'll dump their gas or fuel or whatever else and taxi until they can land. And you it's literally a plane every minute. In a regular sort of scenario, but when COVID hit and the flights were non-existent, it was just really weird not to hear planes in the sky.
Yep.
It was extremely weird. And to see them, obviously, not see them.
Yeah, I was just it was a weird thing. It was definitely weird, and I enjoy going to the airport and just watching planes land and take off. That's just something I do on my spare time whenever I have a chance, just because I enjoy watching them.
Yeah.
And these past couple of years, it's been well. Now it's somewhat back to normal, but the first year was just there was absolutely nothing. I would be there for like half an hour and be lucky if even one plane came in, which is insane considering how planes used to land at Pearson every minute.
Every minute.
And it was just ridiculous how much of a difference there was.
Scary
Yeah.
how different it was. It just so eerie, but it just makes you think, wow, how something like this can affect a major industry like flight.
Yeah.
Travel. And we keep forgetting just how global we are now. It's everything is so global now that when something like a pandemic, and somebody pointed out there's a major pandemic every 100 years.
Yeah.
Basically, there has been for the past since the 1700s. I think there's been a major pandemic. And it's
Yeah.
funny, somebody pointed out in the 20s. 1720, the Black Plague, I think it was,
Mhm.
or 1620, whatever, I don't know. And then you had influenza in the 1920s.
We had the Spanish flu in 1818.
In 1818, yeah,
1918.
1918. Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. But yeah, that's it's eerie
It is. Yeah.
that every
I mean,
100
I also heard a bunch of, like, prior to the pandemic, I heard scientists were saying we're due for one.
Well,
Right.
we kept hearing it, and I think one of the major things was that with these super bugs,
Mhm.
these super bugs that are antibiotic resistant, they're only a matter of time before you're going to have a fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
And who would ever have thought it'd be something like COVID?
Exactly.
I mean, you've had, like, you've had your bird flus, you've had this SARS, all these other things that were potentially going to be a pandemic, but thankfully we were able to control it. But I mean, COVID was, a scary thing. I mean, what's next?
Yeah. Well, I'd rather not think about that.
I don't think anyone wants to think about that. I have to just getting through this, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
it's just a crazy thing, but I don't know. But where was this going anyways?
I don't know.
I don't think Matt's showing up.
I don't think so either.
I don't think Matt's showing up because I haven't heard from him, which is kind of odd. He's usually pretty good at getting back to me. So let me double check here. Yeah, which is really where he usually gets back to me really quick. I guess we'll open up things.
Sure.
We'll open up things. Once again, folks, unfortunately, Matt has not joined us this evening. I don't know why. Maybe something's happened, but we're going to open the lines up, if you will, and we will put it in chat there. If anybody who would like to join us on the panel, by all means, things are quite open. I was farting around with a poll on YouTube there. Let's see. So far, paranormal is kicking butt. 64%, UFO 29%, and conspiracy 7%. Nobody likes true crime. I'm
Well,
surprised.
True crime. Well, there's podcasts for that. Strictly the true crime podcast, right? It's not everybody's
Yeah.
cup of tea.
Well, no, but I mean, it wasn't essentially, we're not essentially a true crime podcast or radio show, but we have covered true crime on this.
We have,
But
yeah.
it was just essentially, what would people like to hear on the show? Right?
Yeah. And this is a good way for you guys to voice your opinion.
Yeah, and they have. I mean, people are voting, which is cool. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And it looks like I said, well, I kind of figured paranormal.
We were paranormal before paranormal
Paranormal
was
is paranormal. You got it? You play it. Play it.
No, I don't know if I have it, man.
What?
I'd have to look for it. I gotta see if I have it. because that one was funny.
I was bad. Oh yeah, the
Twins.
the twins from California.
They weren't really twins.
Huh?
So they weren't really twins.
What was the last show we true crime or conspiracy? What? What was the last time we did a true crime show?
Yeah, I think that's what this means.
I can't remember if we had. Was it the last time we were talking about? Oh my god!
Well, it was that.
Yeah, see, you forget too.
It was that one at the Cecil, wasn't it?
Was it the Cecil? Yeah, but that wasn't really a true crime. That was more paranormal than anything.
Well, yes and no, because it wasn't really established that it was.
Well, yeah, but who we had on to talk about it? He
I
was looking at it from a paranormal standpoint.
I don't know. To be honest, I can't remember.
We've had Nick and the Captain on from the True Crime
Right.
Garage.
That's right.
We've had Jordan on from the Nighttime podcast, which is
Yep.
true crime and UFOs from the East Coast, which is a really, really cool podcast, by the way, guys. If you haven't
Jordan Bonaparte.
yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed to it, do so. It's the Nighttime podcast. You can
Yep.
get it on pretty much any podcasting platform, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And I actually met him.
Yeah, you got to meet him.
I got to meet him when he was in town with a few other true crime podcasters.
Yeah.
They did sort of like I don't know if you want to call it a meet and greet.
Yeah.
It was like a panel. They were at this bar on College Street down in Toronto, and I went to go see him. My wife and I went down to go see him.
Yeah.
And and he even plugged the show during that event because he spotted me, and I approached him before the show.
Yeah.
And introduced myself because I should say I spotted him because he didn't know what I looked like.
Yeah.
And I told him who I was, and because he had been on our show already, so then he's like, "Oh shit, okay, whatever." And and he plugged the show during the panel.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was great having him on, right?
He's a really nice guy.
Really nice guy, and again, he covers some pretty interesting, mostly maritime stuff on the show, but he has covered other stuff, and like I said, it goes from true crime to some UFO stuff.
Yeah,
right. He does cover some UFO cases there in the sort of the Maritimes, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland out that way. But I think he's in Halifax, right?
I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Halifax, I believe, somewhere out there. Hey, Frank, how are you?
What?
I don't know.
Are you hearing children playing? Is that what you're saying?
Question: sound of children playing, is this relatively common to what?
Maybe that's something he's experiencing.
Is it something he's experiencing? I don't know. Maybe elaborate a little bit, Frank, on that question.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we've had him on, and then we had oh my god, we always forget. Oh, somebody, and I saw a post on Facebook today actually about somebody, would have been somebody's 84th birthday. They were murdered though at that house. Oh my god, what's the name of that? Hey Simon, how are you? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, that house. What's that house? Tell me, what's the house?
I think Kevin needs a spell checker.
Show ideas. Show where
Yeah.
Transcendental true crime.
Is that what it transcendent? Is that what you're reading?
Is that like a street name? Rue Crime? All the better for seeing you, Alex and Steve. Well, thank you, Frank. Yeah. Okay, once again, I'll put that in chat there. Anybody would like to join us there? Again, we're open. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Matt is joining us for some odd reason. I don't know what's going on. Maybe something came up with Matt. He was supposed to join us this evening, but unfortunately, I've not heard back. And maybe there was some sort of time difference issue. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't heard back from him. So hopefully he does show up. If he does, then great. If not, like I said, we're going to keep this open this evening, I guess, until if Matt shows up. So thank you, everybody who took the poll. Like I said, I put a poll out there, and there was a poll before that was kind of kibosh. I don't know, but it wouldn't let me get rid of it. I don't know. It's new to me. Never done it
catching
before.
up.
Sorry?
So the UFO category is catching up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's at 33% now. Paranormal 56.
Wow. Conspiracy 11. Still nothing for true crime.
Yeah.
Oops. Did I end it by accident?
Did you?
I don't know. Hold on,
I think you did. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Whoops, I ended it by accident. I meant to just collapse it. Hey, Explorer. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. So what was Kevin's suggestion there?
I still don't know. Kevin, you have to retype it. Try to type it properly this time.
But just to reiterate, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Matt's coming in tonight. I do not know why. Oh, okay. Hold on, Frank. I have heard. Okay. Oh, interesting.
That's interesting.
That is very interesting, Frank.
So if your question was, is it common? I would say no, it's not common. At least not that I'm familiar with.
It's not common. I mean, there have been lots of places that we've heard children talking.
Just a question for Frank, though. Are there, and I know you said it's like in the middle of summer, but is there any chance that there's like playgrounds in the distance? I do know kids' screams do carry quite a ways, but if it's like completely in the middle of nowhere, then that would be intriguing.
I mean, there's a woodlot close to there's a woodlot. There's a excuse me, a school close to the woodlot that we're at.
Yeah, but we're doing the filming at nighttime. No,
we're doing the filming. Yeah, but I mean, there's been times that we've gone there and they've been active.
They've had games at the field. Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of screwed up our ability to do some audio work. So yeah.
So Kevin's basically saying true crime and paranormal coincide. That's what he was getting at earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's show topic where true crime and paranormal coincide.
Well, there's quite a bit where that, like I said, Lisa Lamb.
Yeah, Lisa Lamb.
Lisa Lamb was a case that we covered that sort of had that sort of standpoint where many people thought there was some paranormal components to her. At first missing, she disappeared, and then because she was acting all really weird in the elevator, the last known footage of her before she disappeared, and then eventually she was found dead. So, and not to mention the hotel where this happened, which is the famous Hotel Cecil in Los Angeles, was just notorious for a lot
Weird
of
shit going on.
a lot of weird stuff going on over the years, including wanting to get back to true crime. The Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez,
Yeah.
stayed at. So yeah, there you go. There's one case, but there's probably a lot more paranormal aspects to a lot of true crime things that many people know of. In terms of when you look at perhaps the reason why a serial killer or somebody's killing has some sort of, I don't know, some odd crazy shit going on. I don't know. That might be in his head or their head as paranormal. Who knows? I mean, a lot of it comes down to possession. You look at the Amityville Horror and the DeFeo sort of case. And originally how DeFeo was saying the devil made him do it.
He still holds to that.
No. He wavers.
He does waver, but the last I heard is that he's still on that bandwagon.
Is he back on that bandwagon? Because from what I understand, he totally wiped that off his record. He didn't want that on his record. So, but I don't know. Whatever.
He's not all there.
No, I mean, what serial killer is?
Yeah.
What serial killer is? They're all pretty fucked up, obviously. But I mean, there you go. They're sort of their headspace. I mean, what's going on in their head? I mean, something's going on, and some people would say it equates to like somebody who's being sort of possessed by something, Alex?
No, sorry, I was reading Frank's comment. What were you saying?
What's the comment?
He's saying he's basically replying to what I was asking if he is aware of anything around the area of that where you heard the children's voices. He says, no, I know the area well. Ex-military base closed. I've had to break through a fence. Very dense shrubs, remains of a very old homestead, completely sober.
Wow. That's intriguing, Frank. I want to
Yeah.
know more. Frank, I want to know more. I'm intrigued now. I'm very, very intrigued. We're gonna have to do a station identification on New Visions here. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here. And again, it doesn't look like Matt's joining us sadly this evening. It's really hopefully we'll have to reschedule him, which is too bad. I was really looking forward to talking with talking with Matt and catching things up here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're just going to do a station identification on New Visions. We'll be right back. Hold tight. Let me see what can we play here. We'll play this. Okay, hold tight, guys. We'll be right back. Hey, I'm here at the famous woodlot. As you can see by the footage. Oh, sorry. It's pretty soaked, but not in horrible condition where we can't get in here to shoot some additional footage pretty soon to wrap up the documentary, The Dark Woodlot. I'm standing right now at the ponding area. There you
And this is where we were hearing some of the wailing that we captured during the documentary shooting last couple of years. Actually, we didn't really get some last year, but 2 years ago when we started the documentary, it was let me just turn around so you guys get, there you go, where we got the wailing sound and the strange little metal noises and the knocking on the trees that were unexplainable, and their sound waves didn't register, which was really odd. I mean, they were there. You could hear, we heard a lot of this stuff with the naked ear during our time here. Just, sorry, I'm getting tired. Just in the background there, in that section on the other side of the Inn Cove, is where we found the bone that's still in question. Is it human or is it animal? Still waiting to hear back from the authorities, hopefully. If not, probably contact them soon to find out exactly what that bone is, human or if it's animal. So, yeah, well, what are we gonna find this year during our time here? Hopefully we're gonna get out here pretty soon, because well, it looks like the ticks will be out early this year, so probably April. So probably pretty soon we'll probably try to get some additional footage to add to the documentary, and some additional surprises. Yeah, so just figured I'd come out here and scout the location out to make sure everything's okay, and not much has changed in terms of the environment itself. I'm not going to go too far in right now. I just figured I'd do a quick check on it and enjoy the rest of the footage here, guys. All right, I'm standing roughly where we were, as you can see, just back there, about there, where Gord and I witnessed something very unusual. Unfortunately, we didn't capture it on camera, or did we? You're gonna have to find out when this is completed exactly what we saw. I think we kind of blurted it out there during a show or something else, but whatever. Back in that corner there, one evening, we heard a wailing sound, like a cry. And we do have this audio available, and it will be available, when you watch the final product. And then we saw something very unexplainable and very, very creepy nonetheless. So, yeah, back in that corner. And that's where we're thinking a farmhouse once stood years ago, and is the focal point of this documentary. Again, the story that led me to want to expand a short excerpt that was found on, or blurb or whatever, was found on an old message board years ago. Can't find it anymore. It's probably down now. Maybe on the dark net, who knows? But about a guy who was driving home from work, and this was in the late 70s, and he shared his experience about driving the road just on the other side here, driving down it, and he had stopped because he had seen a woman walking aimlessly in a cornfield, because this used to be a cornfield. Well, it still is somewhat. I think it's soybean, and they kind of switch it out. But anyways, he had stopped because he'd seen a woman that seemed like she needed help or something, and he got out of the car and he started walking up towards the cornfield and towards the woman, and as he got closer, she just completely disappeared. So, I mean, that's kind of odd, obviously, and is there an explanation? Who knows? But upon further research, I found something else, something that will obviously, you guys will have to wait to find out. But this woodlot, very intriguing. It's since we've started the documentary and shooting in here, has provided some very interesting aspects that we didn't anticipate, to be honest. And again, once again, you have to remember, this is teeming with wildlife still. I mean, there's coyotes, there's wild turkeys in here, turkey vultures, sorry, that roam in here, and you gotta watch every once in a while. But for the most part, they're harmless. I mean, the coyotes usually stick to themselves.
Turkey vultures. Turkey vultures.
Turkey vultures.
Turkey vultures.
Bloody vultures.
Welcome back. Sorry about that, guys. That's just a little walkabout the woodlot I did last week, and I just figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a, I guess, viewing from the day, because a lot of you guys are used to seeing it during the night, but not during the day. I have to go in there and take a look very thoroughly. Paranormal Patrick will be bringing his drone, and we're going to document the other side of the woodlot.
Oh, the north side?
The north side and the other section. You have the separation in between the two woodlots.
Yeah.
He's going to be doing the other side.
Nice.
To a certain point, obviously, you can only go so far before you hit civilization.
Blasted civilization.
Yeah, so we're going to get an aerial sort of look at that as well, because it's a part of the woodlot.
Yeah.
And like I said, we haven't ventured too much into the northeast and the east side of the woodlot.
Yeah.
We haven't gone too far in there.
No, we haven't.
And I still, the one night we went in there and it got really cold really quick and the fog started rolling in.
Yeah,
That was amazing
that was pretty cool. Yeah,
to see that real time and just with no lights. We didn't have any flashlights on or anything, and just seeing this because you had the moonlight lit perfectly, and this just rolling through the forest. It was. Is there going to be a few vampires showing up soon?
I was already there, so
Oh, well, yeah.
yeah,
But more.
yeah,
But more.
more.
More vampires. If anybody would like to join us on the panel this evening, there's the link in chat. Matt is not joining us this evening, it seems like. So we're going to open this up. Like I said, this is open mic now for the rest of the show. If there's something that you guys would like to talk about, obviously, we'll entertain it. Whatever. Who's bold enough to join us?
Who's willing to be our victim?
The victim. Victim number one. Who is victim number one? Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting in there again. And,
Yeah, same here.
because I'm still going through a lot of the footage. Because there's just we've got a lot of footage, but there's a lot of footage that really just doesn't, won't fit good with the documentary sort of thing.
Mm.
So we have to sort of ramp up getting some, a little bit more meaningful footage to sort of blend into the documentary.
Well,
And-
we should plan it when we go out.
Yeah, well, I'm almost to the point where we should just fucking make this, like you said, make this into episodes.
Why not?
Episodes. Would you guys watch a new TV show called The Dark Woodlot?
Should put that poll up.
Should put the poll up.
Put it up as a poll on YouTube.
I could do that, yeah. You can't do it. Can you do it? Anybody can do it. No. Wait a sec. Hold on.
Well, you have to be signed in.
Let's see. Okay. I'm not going to do it. I'll do it for another show. We've already had our poll. We already botched it. I closed it out by accident. I don't know why. So yeah, it's once again, we were supposed to have Matt Landman on to talk about Frankenskies and much more. Unfortunately, Matt is not joining us this evening, it looks like. And we're gonna have to reschedule, it looks like. So it's really a shame. Like I said, I was looking forward to having Matt on and catching up and talking about Frankenskies and much more. I will put
Something
it,
must have come up.
well, yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah.
It happens, and that's fine. Like I know Matt did not do this on purpose. It's not Matt. Matt's not the type of guy. What I'll do is I'll putting in the chat where you guys could watch his documentary. That's for you guys to join in the chat here, guys. Whoops, hold on a sec here. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, here we go. And hey, Frank, how are you? Great to see you, buddy. And there's the link to watch Frankenskies. It's free to watch. Interesting documentary on weather modification, weather warfare, and all the projects behind weather modification, the different techniques that they've used, and so on and so on. Yeah. Well, we were going to put the Dark Woodlot. The Dark Woodlot was supposed to premiere last October 31st. We were going to premiere here on our YouTube channel, but unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. But hopefully, maybe this October, we will have it finished. I don't know, but now I'm kind of liking the series part, Alex.
Yeah, why not? I think it'd be a good idea, to be honest with you, just because it means we can go back even more times and add to it as we go along.
So let me guess, you're not getting sick of the Woodlot yet?
Not yet. I'll let you know when that day comes.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not sick of it. It just seems like something new happens in that place every time we go.
Kevin's asking if we're releasing a physical copy of the Woodlot eventually.
Well, how about we do this, Alex? Now that things have sort of, although we're having a spike of sorts with COVID, I'm not too worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too worried about spikes with COVID right now. I'm really not. But what are your thoughts on having a gathering this October for Nocturnal Frequency Radio?
A gathering in what sense?
A get together.
This October? Yeah, be fine. I think it'd be fine.
Guys, how would you feel? And you know what? This is something, something. Matt's with us. Matt's kind of with us. He's there, kind of, I think. But there he is there. Okay, we'll bring Matt in. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Guys, I thought it was on West Coast time. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, man.
I have my calendar written 9 to 11, but I'm on the West Coast. I'm just like, literally, like, I clicked on the link and I saw you guys doing the show, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
We had a feeling it was a time thing, I'm like, okay, he probably thinks we're on the West Coast with him or something. And he's like,
Exactly.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I just got back from a hike, and I'm thankful the show's not 9 to 11 my time, but I'm totally an hour late, and I sincerely apologize.
That's okay, man.
Have you guys been talking about chemtrails?
We've been kind of talking a little bit about it. Like I said, people are obviously sitting on the fence with it. Obviously, that's the biggest thing with, and we'll get right into it, I guess. Obviously, people are sitting on the fence about chemtrails, right? I mean, it's been a long-standing thing. Are chemtrails exactly what they're, people saying they are, or is it just a big conspiracy? But let me ask you, Matt, with the research that you've done, and you've done a crap load, obviously, with Frankenskies. I love it, by the way. I love the documentary. Chemtrails. For those who don't know anything about chemtrails, can you sort of give them a brief sort of scenario?
Yes, happily. Well, if you watch the movie Frankenskies, the chemtrail whole program, it started off in the early 1900s. So the powers that be have been sharpening their tools with the weather modification, weather engineering for some time. Chemtrails is spraying the skies with aerosolized chemicals, usually aluminum, barium, and strontium, to manipulate the weather or dim the sun, or there's different means. I mean, there's a lot of questions: who, what, why, where, when, how. But what the chemtrails are are using jet aircraft to spray chemicals in the sky. And it's been going on for some time. And there really shouldn't be too many questions about it when you start to learn about the engines. So there's these, since the 1960s, aircraft have been outfitted with these high bypass turbofan jet engines. Essentially, what they are propellers that have been turned into these strong engines that are pushing wind, they're pushing air over the wings to create lift. There's no heat being blasted out that would create humidity and condensation and contrail and all that story. So once you learn about these engines, you can start to recognize that no lines should be coming out of the back of them the way that they say. And any lines that you see are chemicals being added to the atmosphere. I mean, they're even admitting that they want to do it to stop global warming. And there's this experiment rolling out in Sweden this year with Bill Gates to dim the sun, spraying chemicals in the atmosphere, but they won't admit they're actually doing it quite yet. But the pictures they show and whatnot of what they say they want to use is identical to what we see in the skies. So it starts to kind of, I mean, it's easy to be on the fence on things that you can't test yourself, but at the end of the day, logic, plays itself out, especially if you watch the movie Frankenskies.
When you say dim the sunlight, how are they able to do that?
Well, what they want to do is, they do it with chemtrails, which is spraying aluminum between us and the sun. And they say that it is the dimming of the sun and the slowing of the heating of the planet. But what it does is create a greenhouse effect. The actual, any heating that's going on now, like warming up, global warming, climate change, stuff like that, it's because of the agenda that's ongoing, the chemtrail agenda. And what they do is they spray the metallics in the air and trap in heat. Like they make the greenhouse effect that they say that they're so afraid of. And then in the end, when they launch it publicly, they'll even exacerbate that. And it'll be that perfect Hegelian dialectic where they are trying to get to a solution that is the problem that they're doing continuously.
Well, I think, so a lot of people out there would like to know, your sort of background and what you've done to sort of get to the point where you are now, after Frankenskies and all that kind of stuff. What has driven you to sort of go down this sort of avenue and sort of being an advocate and trying to fight this sort of scenario? What made you go down this route?
Well, for my personal journey, I was working on a farm and I woke up to weather engineering. That's it. I didn't know it existed, and we were being hit with these droughts and heat waves that were engineered, and I had no idea. I didn't even know anything like that existed. And once I witnessed it firsthand, this irregular appearance of all these planes showing up in the sky in rural Northern California when I worked on this organic farm, it was about 7 years ago now, and I just had this eye-opening experience where this drought was being caused. All this huge storm came in off the ocean to dump this week-long rainstorm, and all these planes showed up and crisscrossed the sky and left these lines. And as it dissolved into this haze and dissipated in this haze, the storm came in and it didn't drop any of the rain. And I later learned that you can spray aluminum and dissipate storms, and you can spray different things to make it rain and spray different things to make it not rain. And so once I learned that the weather was being engineered, I saw it firsthand, and I did some research, and I started to learn that they could and do. And once you have these seeds planted and you start seeing through the right lens, then you can totally open your eyes to things that you never thought you would be able to see. And when I did that and I learned that no one else knew about this, then I started hosting conferences and getting all the experts together. And I've interviewed meteorologists and different experts in the field. And then after hosting a handful of conferences and getting the movie together, now I'm working on a sequel, Frankenskies 2 Climate Chains, like shackles.
What's the difference between, how can I put this? Like, what's the difference between, actual events happening and sort of the political arena and using it for their own agenda? How can somebody decipher the difference between political gain and actual, climate change, if you will?
Well, that's tough. It takes discernment, really. You have to learn to discern. I mean, though, all sorts of events, psyop type events, will be created to point the finger at it and say climate change, or for other means such as war or gun control and all. There's all sorts of, false events that are fabricated for different end political goals. And in the end, it takes the taste of truth to understand what that they would be lying, and then to know that there's two sides to every argument. But at the end, it's really trusting your gut and learning to discern through all of it. Like, how do we know what's what and all of this nonsense? I mean, when they're telling us 99% survival rate, but then we have to lock down and take away our right to breathe and all these sort of things, it's like, when do you start to think for yourself? You can take authority as your truth, or you can start to take truth as your authority, and it's really up to you. But in the end, it feels like it's kind of like it's kind of like a spiritual thing when you get deep with your gut and start to ask yourself questions that you don't really have to have other people answer for you in the end.
Like, I mean, something like, for instance, these carbon taxes now. I mean, what are your views on these carbon taxes that are being thrown at us?
Oh, well, the carbon taxes are, it seems like a total setup. And then you've got these potential climate change lockdowns, and that too are setups. But carbon tax, I mean, they're taxing you for the carbon that you put out, with the claim that carbon is causing global warming, which that is a sham in and of itself. The number one greenhouse gas is water vapor, and they don't, like, no one will talk about that. No one will bring that up. I mean, if water vapor is the number one greenhouse gas, and all these chemtrails that we see, these lines in the sky, are just water vapor, then that alone needs to be scrutinized and talked about. Like, people don't even know the argument that they're having. And then when people beg for climate action, they don't know what they're asking for. Like carbon tax and geoengineering. Geoengineering is spraying the skies with aluminum. People don't even realize what they're getting at. And they already have started the climate change lockdowns. They just locked down a part of the UK because of high winds, and told everyone they had to go inside. And even if it wasn't windy, they weren't allowed to come out. And that's like this breadcrumbing, like, normalization of something. Like, they're gonna bring that into the consciousness. This whole bait and switch from lockdowns due to whatever all that was, to lockdowns for something else, which is going to be the global warming, like, agenda rearing its ugly head, I feel.
So you're saying that something like this, going into a COVID lockdowns, this is just like this could be something that we could see with climate change as well.
Seems like where they're going with it is they want to get everyone under one umbrella, and having them feared into thinking that they needed to act on, this, and that it's all our fault, and that we're under this one big umbrella of shame for, like, exhaling carbon, I guess. When, if you watch Frankenskies, for instance, the Air Force seeds clouds using dry ice, which is frozen carbon dioxide. The weather's already manipulated with frozen carbon dioxide, like concentrated carbon dioxide is put into the clouds via the Air Force, and they turn a blind eye and try to blame us. I haven't seen any data that really actually says that carbon is doing anything, opposed from, like, Al Gore's fear-mongering movies and whatnot. Like, where's the actual proof? You know what I mean? And then we can go. I mean, they even talk about sea levels rising. New York's gonna be underwater, all that sort of stuff. Like, anybody who lives at sea level or has been to the beach and knows the difference between erosion and sea level rise, it's not actually happening with what they claim.
I like, again, with Frankenskies, I like how you bring in the whole Al Gore thing and the Enron, and the what was it, that other group that was supposed to be behind his agenda? What was the name of that big group that was behind his agenda there?
Behind Bill Gates?
No, not Bill Gates. Al Gore.
Al Gore. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a lot. Enron, of course.
Enron
and Goldman Sachs.
Yes,
Sachs
that's it.
making,
That's it.
the cap and trade scandal,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. But he's got the Royal Society and some really there's some dark elements that are behind this whole green initiative. In the end, green is actually satanic, it seems.
I kind of think so too. I agree with you on that. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I've always been at a standpoint where we really don't know how the earth itself runs. I mean, given that we've only been on, conscious of, say, weather and historically documenting it for what, 125 years or something like that. Historically, data wise, what is it, 125 years roughly?
Yeah, who knows what the true history of any of the data really is.
You
I mean,
know, and
after that much time, yeah, you can't even. It's all like a toss up, really.
I remember reading a newspaper article from I think it was like the 1880s, and how they were talking about heat waves, and similar to what we've endured, say, in the last couple of years. So I mean, who do you believe? But that's the thing. People really don't know what really what to believe now when you have these people, especially governments, pushing their agenda, and to the point where this is believable. And why would most people go, well, why would I not believe what the government's telling me on this situation? They wouldn't lie to me. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, the people don't realize that there's evil. People are
Yeah.
good. Generally speaking, people are good, and they don't want to grasp the concept that the government wouldn't be looking out for their own benefit. And that's the first thing that I hear from everyone. It's like, why would they even do that? They wouldn't do that. Why would they do something like that? It's like they can't grasp. They can't even grasp it. They can't grasp there's think tanks like coming together, literally planning their demise, like Agenda 2030, Agenda 2050, transhumanism, and all this sort of stuff. Like, how could that possibly come out of like humans that are good-willed like everyone else? Well, they're not. They're sociopaths, and they have like long-term agendas. And to get from A to Z, they have to like slowly, spoon feed us these problems as solutions, and these solutions as problems, and these problems as solutions, and get us thinking the way that they want us to think. I mean, if there's anything that we've learned over the past few years, is that there's a percentage of the population that will basically just do whatever they're told. And that's a slippery slope when you're dealing with psychopaths, sociopaths who are willing to push that envelope as far as far as it can go. You know what I mean? Like, they're basically testing the waters. And now that so many people are willing to take any agenda narrative hook, line, and sinker, like what's going to happen next? It's going to be really weird. I feel like. I think that all of the different chaotic scenarios, like forest fires and tornadoes and hurricanes, and anything they can pull out just to point the finger at climate change, they're going to pull out all the stops because they want a new world order. How are they going to pull it off a new world order? What are they going to have for the entire world to come and be afraid of? It's probably going to have something to do with global warming and all that. And we're going to end up seeing this, like, you can't come out of your homes nonsense. Like, I don't think I'm not going to do it, but I hope that my neighbors and everyone else will be able to see the truth and write it on the wall. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, it's a scare tactic, I think, for sure. Now, when we last had you on the show, it was before Frankenskies was completed and it was released.
Oh,
and all that.
wow. When was
Yeah,
that?
it's been a while, man. It's been a long time since you were last on the show. So that's it was great to have, it's finally great to have you back on. When it's been released, it's out there. And I want to say, like I said, I really enjoyed the documentary. What kind of reaction have you had since it being released?
Thanks for asking. So the movie came out in 2017. So we must have done a show in early 2017 or 2016 or something like that.
Yeah,
The-
it was.
Something
Go
like
ahead.
that. So the film, it's been really well received, and I never thought I'd still be pushing it around like I am. Like, it's slowly, after 5 years now, it's actually really becoming even more of a movie than before. I mean, like, I thought it would be released and it would, have a big surge and get 1 million views on, YouTube, and that'd be that. But it's this like it's a constant thing trying to have it seen. And it's very well received. When people see it, they're very shocked. Like, they think it's going to be something that it's not. They think it's probably going to be me talking at the camera, pointing the camera at the sky and trying to convince people that that's real or whatever. But it's not. It's very grounded in the historical, chronological timeline aspect of it all, going from the 20s all the way to the present day when the movie was made in 2017. And towards the end, the news is trying to normalize and launch new clouds and launch the idea of geoengineering as a concept. And it's all kind of like, it's all really eye-opening and a big kick in the face when people are trying to grasp, it all. But it's overall been very well received. People have contacted me over the past couple of years and said, if I hadn't seen your movie, I would never have known that this narrative was nonsense. With all of the, I'm not even going to say the word, but like all of this past couple of years, it's been so ridiculous that had people not known that there were so many lies, that they wouldn't have been able to see through these lies. So it's been incredibly well received. It's been seen probably by like 5 million people or something. Like, it was on YouTube and it was doing really well, and then my channel got pulled, and then it got put up on other channels, and then it got pulled. And now if you try to search chemtrail documentary or Frankenskies or anything like that, like Geostorm will come up on YouTube literally before my documentary. You can't really find it. But I'm really thankful for how much it's been seen by people and how much it's gotten around. I didn't even have an Instagram account, and the Frankenskies like tag, like the word Frankenskies has really come into the consciousness, and I'm pretty thankful and proud of it all. Like, different people have mentioned it, and I've gotten around on. I really apologize for the time zone difference. I'm usually pretty on it, but I've done a pretty good job going on a bunch of shows and telling people about it. I think that in the alternative media, like truther space, a good amount of people have heard that the movie exists. I'm trying my best to get it out there. Like, I've started just going to farmers markets and handing out the DVDs.
Yeah.
I'll put a shout out on Facebook and ship out DVDs. I'll do screenings, in different towns and whatnot. It's not that easy to like if it was a mainstream thing and I could just get it on Amazon Prime and get it on Netflix and wash my hands of it, that'd be amazing. But it's a constant. What I'm saying is, it's a constant battle every day. I gave out a movie today at the Juice Bar, and I went down to Mount Shasta, went for a hike, and I've scheduled a screening in that town. It's grassroots, and it's a constant struggle, and it's doing well. I'm so surprised that it's like day one still. It's literally like day one still. So
I love that approach though, man. I still love the grassroots approach. I love it. And because you don't see it that often anymore.
no.
And I know I push it. When I think of weather modification, chemtrails, and all that kind of stuff, I always say Frankenskies. Since then, I always say it. So, and well, you said part 2. You got part 2 coming out, which is a follow up, which is cool. Do we have like a time frame for that, or how far are you into that?
So that's a great question. So Frankenstein is the first movie, and around 2016, I was chomping at the bit, and I really wanted it to come out, and I was upset that things were kind of getting in the way. Making a movie is not really a one-man job, and I was trying to get an editor to help, and it was kind of like a total mess, really. And I didn't understand why I was having so many obstacles. Like, if you're doing things that are good, usually they should flow. But right when I was like literally shaking my fist at the sky, the word geoengineering starts being pushed into the mainstream through all of the news channels. And then they released 12 new clouds into the cloud vernacular, Cloud Atlas, they called it. And all of this stuff came into what would be in Frankenskies 1. Like, it came out, So I felt like, okay, maybe it was more like divine intervention. There was a lot of more stuff I could like include in the movie. Then I was able to release the movie in June 2017, and that was, that was that. Well, now here we are, and so that was June 2017. So in May 2018, I had moved to Arizona. I don't know if you know, I moved to Arizona to have
Oh,
this
I
big.
didn't know that. No.
Yeah, I moved down there to have a conference. So I had the first Global Chemtrail Summit in Vancouver, Canada. I was living in Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
Then I had the second Global Chemtrail Conference in Portland, Oregon in 2017. And then I had the third Summit to Stop Geoengineering in 2018 in Tucson, Arizona. And so I moved down. I was living in Sedona, and I hosted this conference in Tucson. And the whole point of the conference was to have this protest for this sky dimming. It was called the sky dimming experiments via Bill Gates and Harvard professor David Keith. They were literally to do this experiment in Tucson.
I heard of this. Yeah,
So this was in 2018. So I literally moved to Arizona to protest it, and we had this huge ordeal. We had a conference, like an all-day event. We had a protest the next day on Mother's Day for Mother Earth. And we had a concert, and it was unreal. I had some incredible flack. Like, I think this guy was like sent to bust up the whole thing, and I ended up getting arrested at my own conference, and it was a total mess. And like after that, like life kind of got really weird, and I ended up having to leave Sedona after that. I think I was like being targeted. I don't believe in this whole being targeted crap, but I was like, in a way, I was being targeted, and like things. Not that I don't believe in it, but I don't subscribe to it. That's more like you know what I mean? Because if I start subscribing to that crap, then I'm just going to be like paranoid.
I was going to say you get really paranoid.
Yeah, I'll be totally under attack all day long if I'm subscribing to that. But it was a total ordeal, and what we did is we raised so much awareness in Tucson that the experiment was put on hiatus. Everybody in Tucson, they didn't know that chemtrails were real necessarily, but they knew that Bill Gates and his minions were trying to do this experiment to dim the sun with aluminum, spraying air-sized aluminum with high-tech balloons out of this company, Worldview Enterprises, over Tucson, Arizona. So they didn't do this experiment, and we didn't hear about it until last year. They scheduled it to happen in Sweden. So now the experiment of Bill Gates and dimming the sun is supposed to happen in Sweden. But then last year it was put on hiatus for one more year because Greta Thunberg came out as the opposition. So she and the Swedish NASA and the Swedish Greenpeace, they want this experiment to be held, but for it to be regulated by governance, and so that when they do all the spraying, they want it governed by the United Nations. So it's like literally controlled opposition. I don't know if people know, but it's like they control the opposition, so they can control the outcome.
So she's in the pockets.
Yeah, exactly. She's like the whole global warming like minion. Like she's their global warming like activist. Getting all the kids all involved and whatnot. But she, at the end of the day, she's like a Rothschild or Bill Gates' sister or something, whatever. So this is happening now in this year in May in Kiruna, Sweden. This experiment to dim the sun. So I would love to be able to go to Sweden and protest it. Somehow it'll be included in the movie. The movie has not completed itself yet, is what I mean. Like I'm getting good footage and it's happening, but just like the first one, the story's happening right before our eyes. So ideally the movie will come out like next year after we like come and protest Bill Gates' thing and like blow up his house. I don't know. But I'm just kidding. I don't think violence is the answer. But I think that awareness is, and we need to raise the awareness to the point that people don't question what's going on in the sky, and they know what's going on, and they don't question random, fire tornadoes and huge hurricanes and the flooding of New Zealand and Australia, and they start to realize that these things are controlled. And I mean, there's so many different things, but to grasp that in 1914, this guy, Professor Hatfield, was hired to make it rain over San Diego. He did. He made it flood, and he burst the dams, okay, in 1914. And he was sued by the city of San Diego. He won in court because they hired him to make it happen. He just didn't know it was going to rain so hard. But if you can make rain in 1914 And now we are 100 years later, scratching our heads, going, "Oh, it's a drought." Oh,
Well, wasn't
what?
there something I was reading somewhere? What was it? Project Royal Rainmaker or something out of Thailand, wasn't it? In 1954, I believe, something like that.
I'm not 100% familiar with that one, but I don't doubt it because in Vietnam we flooded the Ho Chi Minh Trail, Project Popeye.
Yeah,
Um, the, the,
Project
Tha- the,
Popeye.
Tha-
Yeah.
the Thailand project, I'm not 100% familiar with. I'm surprised, but recently they do talk about like clearing the Chinese Olympics with weather engineering and making it rain over Dubai now with lightning caused by lasers and precipitating rain with drones and making rain over Russia and whatnot. It's slowly creeping in to like normalizing it through the media, but it's not commonplace enough to understand that we can quell and or exacerbate hurricanes and all that jazz. Like when there's fires, not one news reporter comes on and says, "I wonder if they'll seed the clouds over this fire."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And make rain on top of it. There's not a mention. Instead, they say, "Unbelievable fire tornadoes." We've got a new word for the dictionaries now. And like these new words start coming out because there's firestorms being literally created on top of these fires. To fully grasp it, these things that they're spraying, okay, for the chemtrails, primarily aluminum oxide and barium salts, okay, these are actually patented fire accelerants. So fire accelerants, like things used in like bombs and making fires go like crazy, that's what's being sprayed on the fires instead of rain when they could make rain out of the lasers that they have or seeding clouds or whatever. Like the tech is being used, but the opposite of what should be used in these circumstances where people's like entire whatever towns are burning down at this point. You know, I live in Ashland, Oregon now,
Mhm.
and 1.5 years ago, we got hit with this crazy fire that obliterated the neighboring town. 2,500 low-income homes went up in flames on Monday afternoon. It was Labor
Wow.
Day, right? And still, these homes have not been built, and still they're saying it was climate change, even though it was actually arsonists that lit the fires. There's arsons all that day that lit fires up and down the freeway, and it was geoengineered winds that made the fires all crazy. But nobody's talking about it, and the people that know the truth, they're questioning the smart meters that didn't have a surge protection to the main line that maybe created electrical fires to pulverize the homes. They're questioning why the fire hydrants were off when the firemen showed up that day. Like literally all the fire hydrants were off. Not a single home was put out. It's just like fires were just like let loose in this town like it was nothing. And they're literally saying for the mainstream, for the headlines, for the fear mongering and all that, they're literally pointing the finger at climate change, global warming. I mean, how is that even? You know, people don't understand what we're dealing with, so they don't have any reference point. But once we give them it, people see through a completely different lens.
Well, there's another element too that I want to explore, and I think it's pretty important. And you mentioned it obviously with the the chemicals that are being sprayed, and a lot of these are highly reflective.
Mhm.
And one thing that I know you touch base on in Frankenskies, and that's frequency, and how frequency plays a huge part in a lot of this too. Projects like say HARP
Mhm.
and stuff like that. What kind of role do these do frequencies play in this, and how have they utilized that in sort of modifying things as well?
Well, yeah, frequency is basically how they do most all of it, and I can explain it pretty well at this point. So there a lot of people have heard of HARP, and the movie Frankenskies HARP is openly discussed,
Mhm.
which is very eye-opening and shocking to some that think that HARP is either a total conspiracy theory or a black ops like DARPA shadow government project that wouldn't be openly discussed. But it's openly discussed in Congress when they're like handing it over to universities now that DARPA and what have you are done with it. And what HARP is it's an acronym, HAARP. It stands for, I believe, High Altitude Auroral Research program.
Yep.
I've also seen the acronym broken down as the Highly Active Auroral Research Program. What it is it's about a football field size field of antennas. And these antennas, this antenna array, each antenna is about 40 feet tall, and it can produce radio waves. So when you microwave food, I hope people don't use a microwave. It's actually pretty bad, but it kills your food and whatnot. But if you use a microwave, what's happening there is you stick the food in the microwave, okay? And then in the microwave, from each angle, there are the radio waves, but they're micro-sized radio waves called microwaves, and they're shot at the food from opposite angles. And the food in the middle, when the radio waves or microwaves are intersecting in the food, the moisture in the food, the water in the food, at a micro level, at a microscopic level, the water oscillates and it heats up. So that's how the microwave heats up food, because of the water in it being shaken up by intersecting microwaves, aka radio waves. Okay, I think I explained that kind of well. So then, I mean, I'm trying. If you have any questions, please,
No, that's straightforward,
yeah. So then they've learned how to microwave the sky. So there's this antenna array in Alaska, and these antennas, there's like hundreds of them. They'll pick a focal point in the atmosphere, and then in the atmosphere, that focal point can be very wide. It can be like hundreds of square miles. But imagine just like a 10 square mile focal point, and then like a point in the sky that's 10 square miles, and then they'll intersect radio waves in that point of the sky and heat that point of the sky. Okay, and so they do that with the HARP intersecting radio waves, and it's Tesla technology. So they're shooting radio waves at the sky from different angles and having them intersect, and you can actually see the ripples in the sky when they do that. Well, if they can introduce the chemtrails and spray mixing chemicals, they'll charge some, positively, negatively, and then they'll mix them together. Evidently, aluminum, barium, and strontium especially mix well together to stick in the sky, when they're mixed. But then they'll zap them with the ground-based stations, aka the HARP, and then that'll superheat the atmosphere to nearly the temperature of the sun really quickly. And then what's done is you have high pressure. So when you watch the Weather Channel or the meteorologist on the news, there's these H's and L's on the screen that push around weather. And if the H's and L's clash, you get thunderstorms and tornadoes and hurricanes. That's high and low pressure. High pressure is hot air rising. Low pressure is sinking air, like cooler air sinking. And the two together is how all of the weather on Earth moves around. The entire hydrological system is dictated by high and low pressure pushing itself around. So if you can create high pressure, you can steer jet streams. You can create bubbles of high pressure that weather patterns move around. And then in that high pressure bubble, you create drought. You can create heat waves. You can create high pressure systems to clash into low pressure systems to make thunderstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes, like I just said. And so when they were able to reverse engineer high pressure systems and learn how to create high pressure systems, then the weather could be completely engineered, basically. So that HARP technology is actually shrank down into smaller, even mobile stations, and they actually look like really big golf balls. You'll see them on the side of mountains and whatnot, and they call them NexRad, and they call them NexRad and Doppler, and they say it's to predict the weather, but also it's to control the weather. So they're doing two things with those things, and what those do is they use antennas and whatnot to shoot radio waves at the atmosphere to heat it up, like I said, to steer around weather patterns.
The shooting up in the atmosphere, is that anything to do with Project Bluebeam?
Well, Project Bluebeam is a little different, and that's a public project, which is surprising. It's hidden in plain sight, and I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up rearing its ugly head in the near future, this Project Bluebeam. What Project Bluebeam is they, this is public, I'm not making this up, you can even look it up, but it's in the tool belt of the arsenal of the US military, and it's the use of chemtrails as a holographic screen to create a hologram
Mhm.
to project a hologram onto a 3D screen that's used in war tactics, like to fake a bunch of planes in the air dropping bombs,
Oh, okay.
or to fake some religious event. That's one thing that they say. Like God could come and like say you're in war in Afghanistan, and then God comes in the sky and is like yelling in everyone's ears, and that'd be a really big distraction, during a
Oh,
war.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So they could project a fake mushroom cloud from a fake nuke that never happened. They could fake an asteroid, and an asteroid could pretend to hit, and then they could point their HARP antenna arrays at fault lines and make earthquakes,
Hmm.
which sounds crazy, but that's what they do. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. They were called out for making the earthquake that devastated Haiti, supposedly. I mean, different like Chavez and even President Ahmadinejad of Iran was calling out the U.S. Military for using their tools to create drought on the country of Iran. So Bluebeam is fascinating because different people send in their rainwater to get it analyzed after weird chemtrail days to kind of see what's going on up there. And
Mhm.
usually you'll see the primary constituents. Lithium shows up sometimes because evidently the government likes to spray lithium on its people. Cadmium and lead show up. Aluminum, barium, strontium, those are the primaries. But surprisingly, this new one is showing up in random parts of Saskatchewan, Canada, which is very rural. It's called terbium, Terbium. This is a rare earth element used in 3D holographic television sets. So someone's, and it's very expensive. So someone is spraying this terbium in the atmosphere to experiment with using this atmosphere as a 3D projector screen. And I would not be surprised if something happens in the near future. Who knows what? But they don't just create these, this technology not to use it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if like something really weird happens, like a passing asteroid that makes earthquakes or tsunamis or something stupid like that. Like anything that happens in the next decade that's catastrophic, I'm not going to buy it one bit. Call me Nostradamus or whatever, but I'm predicting total BS.
Now, break it down. The plain basic difference, because I know there's a lot of people out there that have no idea about the differences between contrails and chemtrails. What's the difference between the two?
Well, that's an interesting. It's an interesting topic. I've gone really deep into it, and there is this divide over the discussion of is that a chemtrail, is that a contrail,
Mhm.
and a lot like the mainstream will tell you that contrails exist because of heat coming out of engines, because that makes condensation up in the cold atmosphere based on barometric pressure and the humidity up there, and that the chemtrail conspiracy theory of the longer trail, it exists based on the different humidity in the atmosphere. That's the mainstream narrative. Well, come to find out, after doing lots of research, I used to think that there was a difference. There was a contrail and a chemtrail. Like
Okay.
the short trail, the really short trail that dissipates really quick coming out of the jet engine.
Mhm.
I used to believe that was um, like somewhat warm air coming out of a jet engine, and that it
Yeah.
was not chemicals. Come
Yeah.
to find out that so there's a document that I uncovered. I was sent it by this random activist, but that's how the rabbit hole goes. You get these different seeds, and this document's called it's hidden in plain sight, very easily accessible if you just look it up. It's called the Tropospheric Aerosol Program, TAP, through the Department of Energy. So it's TAP DOE PDF, the PDF file. Stands
Okay.
for Tropospheric Aerosol Program, Department of Energy PDF file. And this like 100-page document that was released right before 9/11 in 2001, it outlines the Department of Energy having a chemtrail program, and it's very detailed. It does not have the word chemtrail in it, or contrail, or geoengineering, but they refer to precursor gases. And what I gathered after reading this document, that has, oh my gosh, it has a budget in it for risk aversion and detection assessment. They're not trying to get caught. They spend $5 million in 2001 not getting caught, not being exposed to the public. They grid the city of Nashville, Tennessee, and they have a map of it. They're like, we sprayed this here, this, and we watched how it unraveled. Like they have a fleet of planes and drones and ground-based stations and tens of millions of dollars in 2001 that they're spending, and they're extrapolating their budget out for decades. Each year the budget goes up, and it's unreal. So the Department of Energy has a chemtrail program, and once I learned the word precursor gas, it planted that seed in my head. So the precursor gases are like primer planes. You'll see days, like if you just start watching the sky all the time, it'll start to make sense. Some days you'll see a plane side by side. One has a short trail, one has a long trail. That instance, they're mixing two chemicals together. The short trail is like barium, I believe. The long trail is aluminum, I believe. They're mixing them together. They're using it in the atmosphere as a laboratory. That's a NASA quote. There's ongoing chemtrail programs side by side. NASA has a program called CARE, C-A-R-E. They don't really care. It's called the Charged Aerosol Release Experiment. It's an acronym. NASA has a budget of $52 million per day. $52 million a day they have a budget. It's primarily black. Nobody knows where the budget goes. But they have a chemtrail program ongoing. There's a lot of those programs through government, stratospheric aerosol injections, SAI, SRM, solar radiation management, SRMGI, solar radiation management governance initiative. They actually have governance programs governing the solar radiation management chemtrail programs that are ongoing. They have governance in place, and they have all these different 3 to 4 letter acronyms like running these chemtrail programs hidden in plain sight. So once I learned about the precursor gas term, I started watching the sky more under that, refined lens. And the precursor gas planes that I saw are these supposed contrails. So I'll see days of these short trails, aka contrails, and they'll be priming the sky. They'll be zigzagging all over, getting the sky ready to spray the next layer of chemicals so those chemicals stick. So basically, the trails get longer. You'll see short trails, then the next day or later on in the day, you'll see medium trails, and then you'll see the longer trails. They lay them out, and then they start to stick, and then they can put out their bigger ones, and then the big ones unfold into this soup that they've laid, like when you paint a picture and you want to do or when you paint and you have to primer paint first, you prime with the white paint, and then you come and lay out the other paint so it works. Or when you make a soup, you make the base. It's just like that. They have to have the base out, and then the other stuff works. So I started to learn that there isn't a difference between contrail and chemtrail, that is a narrative that's just designed to confuse everyone. But it's almost just as confusing as chemtrails don't even exist. So we might as well just be able to learn and move on,
Well, that's certainly a good explanation. That's for sure. It's because there's so many different variables that people have put out there, like as you put with the two subject, contrails and chemtrails. And for the longest time, my understanding was that it was the longer sort of trails that would basically wouldn't evaporate quickly and would stay in the sky and widen and sort of shield from the sun, sort of thing, as a chemtrail, if you will. Those chemicals or whatever is being dropped is not evaporating as quickly, obviously, as say air vapors, water vapors or whatnot from the engine. So okay, perfect. That explains it.
Well, it starts to make sense when you look at a plane with propellers, right? The plane with propellers are just creating lift over the wing. And that's what those big high bypass turbofan jet engines do. They just spin that turbine to create lift over the wing. There's not hot air being blasted out. That would be completely inefficient. When you start to put the pieces together, like these are 2-ton titanium and steel Rolls-Royce, very efficient engines, and they're just turbofans. They're just fans. They just get that propeller spinning, and it's just pushing air through the engine to create lift. I mean, you can start to study that engine because it slammed into the Pentagon and just disappeared on 9/11. You know, what was that and where did it go? Why didn't it break the windows? You know what I mean? It was 2 tons of titanium and steel, and all it does is it spins a turbine. My dad was a pilot, actually. We'd fly through birds, and they just get like blended up and come out the other end. They're not cooked or anything like that. Like there's no warmth, there's no heat. Like that idea of like the F-16 fighter jet like producing like super hot air, that's something, but that's not that doesn't exist. It doesn't translate to passenger jets and all that sort of stuff anymore. The engines were perfected and modified in like the 50s by General Electric first, and then Rolls-Royce, and come the 1960s, that whole hot air coming out of engines didn't exist anymore. I mean, jet like fighter jets, yes, but not the normal aircraft that we see.
Interesting. That so how far now would you say have these governments, if you will, or whoever, private corporations or whatever, that use this technology, how far has it come since we'll say the 50s in terms of how it's being used, and so on and so on?
Well, it's gotten incredibly advanced. In the movie Frankenskies in the 1970s, the U.S. Air Force experiments with spraying radioactive zinc cadmium sulfide on the projects of St. Louis, and they outfit planes to spray the radioactive zinc cadmium sulfide on minority children, especially, to see the impacts on their lungs, to see how many kids die from it, right? And to make their experiment work even better, they went and outfit sprayers on rooftops on these buildings, of apartment buildings, and they sprayed their neighborhoods. And they even outfit station wagons in the 1970s. They outfit station wagons with spraying equipment and went through the low-income neighborhoods of St. Louis, Missouri, and they sprayed. I mean, this is like, you're asking like how evolved it. It's gotten really diabolical and very advanced and very high tech, and they're experimenting on the populations. They sprayed from station wagons zinc cadmium, radioactive cadmium. Yeah,
Wow.
just like literally went through on playgrounds. Let's see how many kids die from this. Like that's our own government. From that, it's gotten so intense that now we've got 5G antenna, like cell towers everywhere that interact with the HARP antenna arrays, and they elevate these mixes of chemicals for way longer than ever before. Like they're figuring out ways to zap them and continuously elevate them with cell phone technology, like cell towers and whatnot. They, I mean, it's gotten incredibly advanced. They've been able to directionalize jet streams, weaponize jet streams, create hurricanes with a directionalized weaponized arm. Like the flooding that they're able to do. It's just, you think that they were perfecting weapons of war to like use on not their own people, which is just questionable. But yeah, it's gotten highly advanced, like beyond people's comprehension. I mean, like it's like kindergarten level to start to learn that we can make rain and seed clouds. I mean, they are using lasers and very advanced technology to precipitate rain, or to make it not, or to make, I mean, thunderstorm asthma is a new word that never existed before. And they say it's the rye crop, and all of a sudden the rye crop is getting these pollen, and the pollen is coming in thunderstorm form and killing people in Australia. It's not the rye, okay? Thunderstorm asthma is a new word, and it's the barium. They're mixing so much barium, and it's coming in, and it's literally making people drop dead on the streets. Like, look it up. Dogs and animals and humans are dropping dead, and it's like a bomb goes off, they say, and everyone's dialing 911, and they're hitting the floor, and they had to come up with a word for it: thunderstorm asthma. So these are weaponized weather events, highly advanced, very high tech if you think about it. I mean, like the film Geostorm, it's almost a documentary at this point, the way that things are become so advanced and weaponized. I mean, even in Texas, about a year ago now, the jet stream was directionalized and turned at a right angle and used to attack and freeze to hit Texas with an ice storm. Like, they're pulling out all the stops, and in the end, again, like, all they do is just point the finger at global warming so that they can ultimately lock us in our homes. It's a very diabolical, almost genius Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution, where the solution is going to be what? Us staying at homes and having avatars go out into the world so that we're not breathing carbon dioxide outside. It seems like a technocratic dystopian enslavement if we let it all roll out the way that they want it to.
It certainly is dire, that's for sure. To think that, Matt, thank you for coming on, man. Even though it was shortened, but thank you very much. And get your information out there for everybody. Where to find Frankenskies and everything else. Your clothing. You have a clothing company as well. Get all that info out.
Yeah, and thanks so much for having me on. And I feel really bad about the.
Hey.
Yeah, but next time, hopefully. So, I have a clothing line. I make silver-lined clothing to protect from EMF radiation, especially pervasive 5G tech, but just in general with the Wi-Fi and the cell towers and smart meters and all this stuff that's becoming increasingly in our faces. The children need protection, coming into this world. So I created a clothing line called Spero, Spero. It's a Latin word for hope. And I'd love to send you a couple things if you want to, email me your address.
Sure.
To show you what I've got going on. But I've got all sorts of stuff. I'm really proud of the company. It's growing very rapidly, and I've got baby blankets and hoodies and foam pouches and beanies and texting gloves and men's underwear and a lot of maternity stuff. And what the silver does is it deflects the radiation from cell phones and all that. I've even got a phone. You put your phone in there and it doesn't work inside this Faraday foam bag because the signal's stopped. The signal's completely blocked. So that's been an amazing endeavor. So please check us out at Spero, Spero. Like in Spanish, it means I hope. Spero is from the verb esperar. And Spero Gear on Instagram or sperogear.com. And then Frankenskies, I was able to get frankenskies.com finally. So I also do have frankenskiesthemovie.com, but after years, the person who was selling frankenskies.com for $5,000 sold it to me for $500. So I got it. Yay, the internet. It's an interesting world. So frankenskies.com, please check it out. Feel free to share the movie around. It's a great resource for anybody, really. I mean, anyone can learn something from it, I firmly believe. And then I've got a website, Actual Activists, and that's like a hub for me. I've got on there a podcast truth resource where I've got you guys on there and other podcasts who I love and trust. And I've got, of course, and I've got resources for fluoride and 5G and health and geoengineering / chemtrails. And I've got a daily blog and all. It's a one-stop shop, like amazing resource for information. I hope people can check that out, actualactivists.com. And then please find me on Facebook. I get censored like crazy, but I'm still on there with about 60,000 followers, Matt Landman. And yeah, please everyone try to honor the truth in this
crazy
day and age. Yeah, this era of lies and treasons, the more that we get into the thick of it, the more it seems like the truth is the most important thing we can honor right now. So if we can honor it with integrity and show the kids the way, that's the best thing I can do right now. So thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate it. And we would love to have you back on soon.
Terrific. Please keep me in mind.
Absolutely. Take care, Matt.
You too. Thank you.
Take care, Matt.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, it's really it's an intriguing sort of area. I mean, people do have their thoughts about it, conspiracy, whatever. And I know there's a lot of things that might seem a little crazy, but when you look at the actual information out there, there's a lot of information out there that is legit. It really is legit. And I mean, it's not like the government's ever lied to us before, right? I mean, it's a given, but I mean, that's up to you and what your thoughts on this whole scenario. But I mean, it's crazy nonetheless, and it just makes you. It really does make you think. It really does. No matter what, it makes you think the possibilities of stuff, nefarious things that are happening in this day and age. Yeah, and yes, Frank, silver is antibacterial as well. Yeah, exactly. Silver is incredibly good for the human body, and but not too much, obviously, in doses like a lot of minerals and heavy metals and all that kind of stuff in doses. Some smaller than others, but I actually knew a guy that was taking colloidal silver, and he was taking too much of it. He got awfully sick. I'll tell you that. And of course, stopped taking it. But yeah, again, it's like, do your research, look into it, and form your own opinion. I think that's the best way of approaching something like this. Because a lot of people just jump on the bandwagon and say, "Oh yeah, that's true," or "No, it's not true. It's bullshit." It's Do your own research. Look into it. Look into it yourself. There is lots of great information out there, and again, you really have to watch the information that you're ingesting. Obviously, right, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of misinformation out there. Tons,
And
of
that's part of the problem.
and that's the huge part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, but I always look into when you want to look into, say, weather modification, and all that kind of stuff. Look at the projects that the governments over the years have initiated, and what they were based on and what they were doing. I mean, the information is there, well documented across the net and whatnot. So I mean, there's lots of great reading material out there in terms of the different, Project Popeye and Rainmaker and all sorts of different things that the Army and the Corps and all sorts of governments put in play to better understand what they can do, I guess. In many cases, you know, parts of countries that are having drought, and how they can sort of, help by somehow getting rain to that area, and what they could possibly do, stuff like seed clouding and whatnot. That's all out there. Again, it's well documented. Alex, I think that's pretty much it, buddy.
Yeah. We made it.
We made it. I want to thank Matt for finally joining us. Thank you again, guys. Take care, and thank you for joining us in chat. Frank, you're still in there. Explorer, thank you. Adrian, Simon, guys, thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next Sunday night. Take care, everyone. Until then, you have watched and listened to Nocturnal Frequency Radio here on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course, simulcasting on our YouTube channel. Take care, everyone.
Take care.